So, good afternoon, sir. So, our report for today is about physical self, heredity, and environmental. The environmental may affect the degree to which hereditary child develop. Only they can tell the difference observed are due to heredity. Heredity determines what organism may becomes, not will become organism becomes dependent on both heredity and environmental. So, the heredity is a sum of all biological processes which by particular characteristics among transmitted from parents to their offspring. So, this is a set of genes that an offspring inherits from both parents. A combination of genetic materials of each is called organism is genotypes. So, that is the meaning of heredity. The role of heredity and environment. Both heredity and environment are important in the life of an individual. Both are determinants of development. It means both are very important in life of individual. Heredity give us the body to structure, complexion, or furniture, etc. And the environment provides the opportunity to develop them. The relationship of heredity and environment. The concept of genetic environmental correlation states that our genes influence the environments that we are exposed to. When the children are younger, it's common to see passive correlation, meaning the child has no control. Parents provide their child's environment tying to heredity. So the dominant genes. Dominant refers to the relationship between two versions of a genes. Individual receives two versions of each gene. Now, as alleles from each parents of the alleles of a gene are different. One allele will be expressed and the dominant gene affect the other allele called receive is mass. So, the function of a gene who presents the single copy control expression of a trait. So that is the difference between receive and dominant genes. So the dominant is commanding control or prevent overall other dominant culture. Very important, powerful, and successful of dominant team in dominant industry. The teams domain before performance, overlooking the commanding from superior position at dominant heel. So that is the dominant genes. About receive genes or allele is one of the which the effect is not tangible or is amassed by the effect of the dominant genes. The recessive trial may be expressed when a recessive gene are in homogeneous condition or which dominant gene is not present.
Good afternoon, everyone, and especially to you, Sir Roldan. My name is Gordon Nino Garces, and I am here to discuss our topic about physical development, growth, and maturation. So, what is physical growth? Physical growth refers to the increase in height, weight, and other body changes that happen as kids mature. Hair grows, teeth come in, come out, and come in again, and eventually puberty hits. It is all part of the growth process. The terms growth and development, as used in physical growth studies, refers to processes common to all living organisms, processes intimately linked in time, but partially independent, and questionably genetically determined. There is a growth spurt during adolescence. The growth spurt in boys occurs during mid-adolescence between the ages of about 12 years and 16 years, most commonly about age 13 and a half, and usually it begins a year after the testes start enlarging. Boys grow about 4 inches, about 10 centimeters, during their year of maximum growth. The growth spurt in girls occurs in early adolescence between the ages of about 9.5 years and 13.5, most commonly about age 11.5. Girls grow about 3.5 inches, about 9 centimeters, during their year of maximum growth. So, in general, boys became heavier and taller than girls. Influences on early physical growth and development. There is no exact age at which all infants should be able to grasp objects or hold up their heads without support. Physical development occurs at different times for all children, depending on many factors, such as the child's unique characteristics, the family's values and cultures, and the available resources. However, many infants and toddlers experience developmental milestones at similar times. Culture impacts how we see and interpret behaviors and development. Because culture shapes so many parts of an infant's and toddler's development, you must understand the practices, beliefs, values of the families you support. Without this understanding, it is difficult to interpret the infant's or toddler's behaviors in development. For example, you may believe it is important to help toddlers learn to become independent and begin to feed themselves using fine skills. A family, however, may not view independence as important because they believe it is more valuable to depend upon one another. So what is the brain's role in physical development? The brain's role in physical development is you can easily observe infants making movements with their bodies and refining their physical skills. Thanks to advance in research and technology, we can now also see how the brain changes and grows as young children develop. At birth, the brain is 25% of its adult size, and by age 5, it reaches 90% of adult size. Early life interactions and experiences of infants and toddlers help them make sense of the world and form connections between the different parts of the brain. These supportive experiences and connections help foster more coordination and stronger muscle. Research tells us that as infants repeat and practice at different movements, such as turning their heads or reaching for an object, they are building and maintaining connections between brain cells.
So, sexual maturation, also called puberty, begins at different ages depending on our genetic and environmental factors. So, and also it has average age when maturation starts or begins. The average age is, I think, 12. So in boys maturation, it begins with enlargement of scrotum and testes. So typically followed by lengthening our penis, or it start it start to be long. And next your pubic hair will appears, and also armpit and facial hair. So after that, the growth spurt will begin after the pubic hair appears and armpit and facial hair. So in girls, the sexual maturation begins when their breasts will be budding, like mamokol. So it followed by the growth spurt of their height. So after their growth spurt will begin, their pubic hair and armpit will appear, and after that the menstruation will begin after breast development start, and when growth in height slow after reaching its peak velocity. So that's it. But in both boys and girls, pubic hair may appear first. So that's the sexual maturation in boys and girls.
So next is factor affecting physical growth and development. So what is the contribute of this? So for the longest time there are debate what is factor affecting physical growth and development. And this debate about human nature or heredity, and nurture or development. So what are the difference of two? So nature and nurture debate. First is nature. So nature, sociologists, sociobiologists, psychologists, and other natural sciences argue that behavior traits can be explained by genetics. So they are sure that whatever traits we have or characteristic, it can be explained by biologists through genes. Next is nurture or development. Sociologists, anthropologists, and other social science nature argue that the human behavior is learned and shaped through interaction. So first factor affecting growth and development is heredity or nature. So what is heredity? Heredity refers to a genetic heritage passed down by our biological parents. It's why we look like them. More specifically, it is a transmission of genes, of traits, from one generation to the next. These traits can be physical, such as eye color, hair color, blood type, or disease, or behavioral. So, the sex and other physical traits are determined by the combination of chromosomes and genes during fertilization. So, what is chromosomes? Chromosomes is a thread-like tissues that carries the gene and are usually found in pairs. So, we have 23 pairs of chromosome, total of 46 chromosomes. There are two types of chromosomes. First is autosomes or trait chromosomes. So that we have 22 pairs. Next is, oh no, autosomes or trait chromosomes. So that the trait chromosomes that give us that can identify the our eye color, hair color, disease, blood type. Next is gonosome or sex chromosomes. So the X and Y chromosomes that it determine us the what is our gender, male or female. That next is genes. So what is genes? Genes is basic carriers that heredity traits can be classified into two, dominant and recessive. So dominant is a strong genes and recessive is a weak genes. Heredity traits are determined by genes, and a single gene can have a several variant called alleles. There are two types of gene in our cell, with exemption genes located on our six chromosome. One of the copy comes from the sperm from our father, from the male, the other from the egg or from the female. In an individual, these two copies are not necessarily identical. If the two copies of a gene identical, we say that the individual is homozygous. If the copy is the same, it will call homozygous for a gene. If the copy are different, the gene is heterozygous. So the same, homozygous, different, heterozygous. The alleles of the same gene can have a dominant or recessive relationship with one another. If both alleles are different and at least one of the two is dominant, it is the dominant one will be expressed. So Y dominant will only express because dominant is a strong genes compared to recessive, which is the weak genes. So the strong will be expressed. Conversely, a recessive alleles will not be expressed because it's so weak. In an individual, if the both parents pass down the same alleles, as the result, even the recessive allele is present in genotype, it will not be observable in phenotype if the other copy of the gene is dominant allele. So, during reproduction, the genes of biological parents combine to form a new, unique individual. So this shuffling of genes is the reason why all of us is different, why all of us is unique. Thank you. Next is the nurture.
So, we have the environmental factors affecting the physical self. So, there is a two long time debates about the factors affecting the physical self. So, two is about nature. The two is about nature and nurture. So, first, what is nature? Social biologists, psychologists, and other in the natural science argue that behaviors, traits can be explained by genetics. So, meaning, nature, your behavior can be explained by the genetics, or it is already a constant that that can be it can be explainable by biology. And next is nurture. So sociologists, anthropologists, and other in the social science argue that human behavior is learned and shaped through interaction. So they believe that that your behavior is learned and shaped through interaction. Just like just like if if you interact with an happy person, you can also learn to be happy. So next is the factor that affecting the physical self. So this one is environment. So why is environment a factor on affecting the physical self? Simple, because it depends in your environment on how you will shape or mold yourself. So I have I have a one illustration that will help you explain on why environment is a factors that can affect the physical self. So one, there is a boy, he lives in a messy environment. Then that boy is doesn't know what is right and what is wrong. Then he sees a boy that he sees a friend, or he interacts with a person that is doing a bad things. So afterwards, he copied the boy that did a bad thing. So that after many years, he opened his eyes in an environment that is messy, and that is and a bad environment. So one thing is in your family. Another thing, I mean if your family is a cultural family, which is they believe in our Filipino cultures, then in you and in your future, you will also follow that culture, which is the culture of the Filipinos. So also, the factors of affecting the physical self is about the nutrients, and about your diet, about the food about the food you eat. It can also affect your physical body, your also your health, and because in every day, if you eat a healthy food, then you have a healthy body. And if you will eat an unhealthy food, you will also have diseases. And if you also have a unhealthy diet, you will also have a diseases. So that is also a factor in affecting the physical self. So one thing about environment, because it it shapes you, or it brings you, it it will help you bring you to the person you want to interact. So for example, if you if you see a person that is doing good, then that is why other environment or other first person sees you as a good person, because you wake up in a nice environment that is that is very that is very good, and very very decent environment. So that's why one thing that can affect your physical self is the environment, because it reflects yourself, depends on your environment. So I think that's all. Thank you.
My name is Rudy Munoz. My topic is all about physical self. Physical self refer to the body that includes basic parts such as head, neck, arms, and legs, made up of other organs such as the brain, heart, lungs, stomach, intestine, and muscles. At yung mga organ na to, they work together to perform different functions such as breathing, walking, and dancing. And generally, perform its function less well during infancy and old age. Nung baby tayo, hindi pa masyado nagpo-function yung well ng katawan natin. Gradually, when we grow old, they decrease their new ability of body to function well. In what I have said, physical self is about to body. At yung ability niya to perform each function nag-change throughout the years. Physical efficiency generally peaks in early adulthood and declines into the middle age. So, ngayon, age natin ngayon, andun tayo sa peak kung saan yung body natin ay can function well. Wala pa masyadong naramdaman na sakit. I'm going to discuss the three parts of physical self: stage of lifespan, body image, and concept of beauty. The first is stage of lifespan. Development from conception of death, or the maximum number of years that human can live. While life expectancy is the average total number of years that a human achieves. Example is puberty, 10 or 12 to 14 years old. Adolescence, 14 to 18 years old. Early adulthood, 18 to 40 years old. Middle adulthood, 40 to 60 years old. Late adulthood, 60 years old to death. The second is body image. Body image refers to how individuals perceive, think, and feel about their body and physical appearance. Pag sinabi natin body image is about our body or own perception that in somebody and our physical appearance. When we say appearance, everything about a person that other can observe, such as height, weight, skin color, clothes, and hairstyle. To appearances, people show others the kind of person they are. Pag sinabi natin body image, usually related dito ang self-esteem. Ano ba ang self-esteem? Self-esteem, a person overall evolution of his or her own worth. The third is concept of beauty. The term beauty is customarily associated with aesthetic experience and typically refers to an essential quality of something that arouses some types of reaction in the human observation. For example, pleasure, calm, elevation, or daylight. When we say beauty, anyone can see the beauty in anything. It doesn't have to be a person, physical or facial attractiveness. When I think of beauty, that last thing that comes to my mind is physical appearance. It should be for pleasure, like when you enter a breathtaking view that gives pleasurable feelings, or having a sounds of waves, birds singing that gives you a calming feelings, or just appreciating the small things in your life that gives daylight. All that being said could be beauty.
Physical self. Physical self refers to our body that can be easily examined and observed. Physical self is not only focused on how you look, not just about your hair, abs, and curves. This is also about how you nourish your self-image, self-concept, and self-esteem. Self-image is the idea one has of one abilities, appearance, and personality. And self-concept is an idea of the self constructed from the beliefs one holds about oneself and the responses of others. And self-esteem is how much you appreciate and like yourself. Factors that influence the growth and development of a child. First is heredity. Heredity, it influences all aspects of physical appearance such as height, weight, body structure, and even intelligence and aptitude. Disease and conditions such as heart disease, diabetes, obesity, and etc. can also be passed through genes, thereby affecting the growth and development of a child. Second is environment. Environment plays a critical role in the development of children and represents the sum total of physical and psychological stimulation the child receives. For example, a good school and a loving family builds in a children's strong social and interpersonal skills, which enables them to excel in other areas such as academics and extracurricular activities. Sex. The sex of a child is another major factor affecting the physical growth and development of a child. Boys and girls grow different ways, especially nearing puberty. Boys tend to be taller and physically stronger than girls. However, girls tend to mature faster during adolescence while boys mature over a longer time period. Exercise and health. Exercise refers to a normal playtime and sports activities which help the body gain and put on bone mass. Exercise help children grow well and reach milestone on time or sooner. Hormones. Hormones belongs to the endocrine system and influence the various functions of our bodies. Their timely functioning is critical for normal physical growth and development in children. Nutrition. Nutrition is a critical factor in growth as everything the body needs from food we eat. Malnutrition can cause deficiency disease that affect the growth and development of the children. On the other hand, overeating can lead to obesity and health problems in the long run such as diabetes and heart disease. And lastly, familial influence. Families have the most profound impact in nourishing a child and determining the ways in which develop psychologically and socially. Families that abuse children would affect their positive development. These children may end up as individuals who have a poor social skills.